Moving on, we have a panel discussion on effectiveness of legal tech in managing legal risk in the post-COVID world. I would like to invite Indranil Choudhury, founder and CEO, Lexplosion Solutions Private Limited, to moderate this discussion. Over to you, Mr. Choudhury.
These are strange times. These are uncertain times. These are indeed stressful times. But these are also innovative times. A time to wear our thinking caps even tighter and come up with effective technology solutions which can show us the way into the future. Innovations like the one that we are using today to hold a virtual conference with such ease. Hello and welcome to today's session on effectiveness of legal tech in managing legal risks in the post-COVID world. Now, legal tech in itself has existed for well over a decade. Lexplosion's compliance management solution, Comrisk, for example, was launched way back in 2010. However, the need for technology solutions to assist in-house legal teams has perhaps not been felt more acutely than in the past 6 months. Today, we'll speak to 4 stalwarts of the legal industry and seek their views on how legal tech has helped them navigate through this current period. With this, I'd like to introduce the 4 panelists. We have with us Ms. Rekha Surendhiran, Vice President and Company Secretary with Carborundum Universal Limited, which is a part of the Murugappa Group. She has over 2 decades of experience and is joining us today from Chennai. We are joined also by Mr. T.A. Bhaskaran, Head of Tax and Legal for Hanon Automotive India. Mr. Bhaskaran has over 3 decades of rich experience, having previously worked with the Murugappa Group, PwC, and DN. Mr. Bhaskaran also is based out of Chennai. I would also like to introduce Mr. Anirban Deb Ray, General Counsel of Buildersoft Limited, a part of the CK Builder Group. Having graduated from Calcutta University and King's College London, Anirban has 20 years of diverse experience in legal operations, having worked at Vodafone, Gabriel India, and Nico, among others. Anirban joins us from Mumbai. And then we have Mr. Nitin Sharma, who leads the legal team of Becton Dickinson for South Asia and India. Nitin has over a decade of experience, having spent the initial years in the law firms of J. Sagar and AZB, before taking on in-house counsel roles in Davita Care and now in Becton Dickinson. And I'm Indranil Choudhury, the CEO of Lexplosion. I'm also a lawyer with about 2.5 decades of experience. Thank you all for joining us today for what I'm sure will be an enriching session for everyone who has logged in. Let me start by asking the speakers on their perception of legal tech and what value it has brought to their lives. Rekha, if I may start by asking you, which are the areas of an in-house counsel's work that technology can really bring about change in? And what has been your experience of adopting legal tech?
Good afternoon to all. Indranil, just as we spoke when we got ourselves introduced in our journey together, QME has been one of the pioneers in introducing legal technology way ahead of its times. In fact, we've had legal technology adopted in our company close to a decade back. And to me, if you personally ask me, I would say it cannot replace the human value that is brought into the entire perspective, but it will definitely support us. Especially we've seen the use during these COVID times, where with limited resources, we are able to monitor and compliance and ensure that everything is working perfectly. So that's how I would view it.
That's a very interesting perspective. And you've of course, rightly brought in the fact that the last 6 months have brought in a completely new aspect to technology and how all of us are, currently connected with each other. Even if a year back, if we had a conference, we would request everybody to fly down to one city. It was unbelievable that we could all still connect and talk and have a perfectly decent session sitting in 4 or 5 different cities, but it's being made possible through technology. So absolutely, I take your point. If I can move to you, Ms. Bhaskaran, again, you've been involved with the legal tech space. You've been exploring different technologies for a long time. What are the roadblocks? What are the internal challenges that you faced when you tried to introduce legal tech in Hanon systems? What are the kind of challenges you faced?
Good afternoon to all. In fact, we were all that while using different process of ensuring compliances, because we have the pan-India presence, multiple statutes, and changing people and thousands of compliances. So initially we had little challenges and difficult times as well. What we did, we have taken it with the top management and shared what exactly the downsides we have if we don't have a robust system in place. So today, non-compliances cost much. It involves a huge penalty on the board of directors, and it would lead to the extent of prosecution, etc. as well. So we had carried this message to the top level of the management, and being the MNC company, we have taken it to our headquarters as well. And we took this as a very, very serious and focused task to implement this. So we have spread this across first and made people to prepare themselves and to accept this and gear up themselves for the transformation from their present mode to the digitech legal compliance mode. Though there was a resistance in the initial stages, people realized once we made a very focused attempt on this, on mapping the tasks and fixing the user, reviewer, and escalation level kind of thing, in that process, people realized the importance of this digital way of driving their compliances in the changing environment, and it was accepted. Now we are moving to the next level of event-based compliances and any expansion plans, what are all the things to be done kind of a thing. So we are just moved to the next level. So initially we had some level of resistance, but people as a team, and we formed a CFT, cross-functional team and task force as well, which was welcomed after that. And we are in a robust implementation now.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Let me move to Anirban, who interestingly, this is the second company where Anirban and we are interacting. So you've been involved in the decision-making process in choosing legal technology. First, I know in Vodafone and now in the CK Birla Group in Birlasoft. What goes into the decision-making process? What is an in-house counsel, a leader of a large organization's legal team? What are you thinking about? What are the pros and cons that you are balancing when you're coming to that decision on which particular product to choose, which particular aspects of legal, in-house legal work to bring in technological intervention in? What are those decision-making processes? What is going through your mind? I'm sure that will benefit many of the people who have logged into today's session.
Yeah, certainly, Indranil. These are very important questions because we have to ask ourselves these questions before you ultimately go ahead and select a tool, there are many of them in the market. So ultimately, it boils down to what are the analytical capabilities of those tools and what data point would it throw back to the management? Because as it happens in the present company and in the previous many organizations I had worked in, the critical litigations do get placed before the audit committees and before the senior management. So there is a need for positive assurance in terms of the fact that firstly, that we have visibility of those litigations. Secondly, we know where the litigations stand. And to a great extent, we also need to have some audit trail of what really transpired 2 years back about a litigation. As you know, in India, litigations does go on for a good number of years. And that brings in the need for, if I may say, finding a solution at the click of a mouse. And that's the journey. I think that's an irreversible journey all of us had gone into. And these are the points which really, if I may trouble us in a sense that how do I know whether geographically sparse distributed litigations, so where do I have a single point visibility? And that visibility requirement for that visibility brings in the need for such a tool. And coming back to the benefits from the tool and the features of that tool are one of the parameters, prime parameters, which we as in-house lawyers need to decide, because beyond the point, management cannot take a decision without the help of in-house lawyers. Which of these tools are best suited from the lawyer's perspective? So that is where we as in-house lawyers have a huge contribution to play, whether in the decision on whether the right tool is being chosen in terms of the bringing the value, bringing in terms of the right price point, and also bringing all the features which in terms of intelligence that organization is looking for.
Thank you, Anirban. I think that's a very valuable input. And with that, I'd like to move to Nitin. Nitin, again, you and I have experienced legal technology across the table, first in Davita and now again in Becton Dickinson. What are the benefits? What are you looking for when you, and I know we have had long, detailed conversations about functionalities, features. What are the benefits that you're looking for and that you're drawing out of the technological solutions that are currently being implemented in BD, for example?
Thanks, Indranil. I think we do use the contract management tool of yours, and that's been very, very helpful. Let me begin by saying that. One important aspect that I would want to cover is that historically, if you've seen, whether it was the 1987 market crash or whether it was a dot-com bubble or even a subprime, these were crises of a different nature. And COVID is very different as well. And the big point of difference is that the technology was in a very different phase when these crises happened. At the time when COVID happened, technology was far more mature. And that's where your organization and many others were also in a very good position to really capture on that situation. And what this has done is, at least for me, is that the discussion around a good technology has moved away from the corner office to my office, where I now, when I say, listen, if I do not get technology, I may not be able to serve you. And if a legal counsel is not able to serve the organization, the risk matrix becomes much higher, both commercial, legal, financial, reputational, the list is long. To answer your question around what do I look at, for me, efficiency is the biggest tool, because there is only much 24 hours available in a day, and probably even if you stretch beyond, like a law firm, you still probably go for 16, 18 hours in a day, but you really have to make them count. So it's not about how many hours are you putting in work, it's all about how much efficiency are you bringing in within those number of hours. And a platform, whether it's a contract management, whether it's a risk assessment, whether it's a diligence platform, whether it's a repository, it has to work on that basis. And again, efficiencies always come at a cost. And the cost is not always a human headcount head that we're not talking about. There are different ways in which you look at a technology, right? I can say, now I have a platform, so I don't need 3 people. Or I can say, listen, I have a technology, but I need these 3 people to do more because I have a technology supporting them. So it's just the way you want to look at it and just the way you want to really trace that. And again, to summarize what I would say, 3 things: efficiency, cost factor, and my time to resolve business issues becomes much, much shorter. And my contribution then becomes like more of a business player rather than only a lawyer in the organization.
Thank you. And I think all 4 of you have brought out 4 completely different aspects. And as somebody who has now been involved in this legal technology space almost by accident for over a decade, what I've noticed is how the need for technology and the demands out of technology have changed over the last decade. From us having to spend endless hours driving the need, I think all, especially organizations of your scale and size, have moved away from way up the need hierarchy to that self-actualization phase where you are no longer looking at the basics. The basics are a given now. So you are looking for efficiency. There were times when I remember way back in the 2007, 8, 9 time frame when we would ask questions like, won't that lead to people losing jobs? It was almost like the days when the computers were first introduced, where the legal team actually worried that their colleagues will lose their jobs because a technology solution was being brought in. But that's clearly not happened. Just that people in the legal team who were doing a whole bunch of maybe clerical work, spending endless hours just doing filing, have moved up the value chain, and the quality of work that in-house lawyers therefore do now has improved. And as a result of which, I believe that the quality of people who are now taking on in-house legal jobs has significantly gone up from the time when we started our legal careers about 25, 26 years ago, when in-house jobs were almost seen as a second rung. If you did not do litigation or if you did not get into a law firm, is when you took on an in-house job, which is no longer the case. It's actually something that people are now, aspiring for. And that's probably because these technology solutions have ensured that the quality of work that comes to the in-house lawyer is significantly higher. With that, Rekha, if you don't mind, I'll come back to you on your specific experience with Lexplosion's compliance management solution, ComRisk. I know you've been using the tool now for close to 2 years. How has ComRisk benefited you? Generally, of course, but also more specifically during these last 5-6 months, this completely strange period that we all kind of are still groping with.
Again, coming to the same point, QB had moved from the initial practice of taking the checklist, which was a manual form of compliance, more than a decade back. But a decade back, technology had its own issues associated with it. We were not able to get appropriate dashboard reportings, and we were not able to get real-time regulatory updates updated into the checklist. So we were looking for another product which could replace our existing system. And QB's operations, if you see, it is across India in 19 locations. So that also had a role to play, because it is not one single checklist that I can use across all the locations. So it had a massive work of review and reporting which was involved in it. And ComRisk gave us all what was not there in the earlier system that we were using. We are now able to get very analytical dashboard reports. We are able to get it quickly. We are also able to get all the regulatory updates very quickly. And coming to the last 6 months, we are a very small team of only 4 of us in the legal department to manage this entire thing. So, and we are also very new to remote working. So being a manufacturing company, remote working, it was something that we never thought of. But Lexplosion helped us to get into this remote working situation very, very seamlessly, because the connect with the users was always there, irrespective of whether we were working out of office or from home. So that comfort we got from the product, because what we specifically did is we used this time also to reach across to the users who initially, for the months of March and April, their operative responsibilities was a bit down owing to the lockdown situation. So we used this time to reach out to them, to understand how they have understood ComRisk, how comfortable they are. And we are also thankful to the ComRisk team, because they also supported us on these things. So they also were part of all our feedback sessions that we had with the users. We have about close to 200 users in the system who are using ComRisk. So we used the sessions in the last 3-4 months to improve the effectiveness of the implementation of ComRisk at a whole. And I should say the specific COVID-related regulatory updates, which we got even by the mobile app, that was really very useful. Now, it's not only as useful for me as an administrator of the entire system, but also for the user, because irrespective of where he or she is, they can continue to confirm compliances on the respective issues from wherever they are situated. One. The second thing that I would say is it also helped during these times. Access to information is very, very important, because that is very important for making critical decisions during these times. So that access was facilitated by ComRisk.
Thank you so much. And I will move to the other key ComRisk user. Ms. Bhaskaran, I have a question for you and the entire Hathor team. Through this entire period of the lockdown, when we have had very, very important clients who have struggled, Hanon managed to almost continuously keep to 100% usage. That's 100% tasks were completed, and that's actually true for QME as well. How did you motivate so many users, again, working from home, manufacturing sector? What went into the whole process? Because for people who don't understand how compliance management happens, there are actually people and users across departments, across different types of backgrounds, at the factory level, at the secretarial level, all sorts of people. how do you manage it? I mean, I'm curious as somebody who's trying to drive that across, 100 plus organizations. I'm really curious. How do you manage to do that?
See how effectively we use Comrisk team and Comrisk tool as well in the very difficult times. The people got displaced in various locations. That was a lockdown, both import, export, everything was stranded. It was completely stopped. Several consignments on roads without reaching the destination, without reaching our plant, etc. So one is the anxiety of the developments which is happening, that is the spread which is happening, which is very, very new animal to this entire world. So that is one side of the story. The other side of the story, lot of announcements were coming up from the government side, Ministry of Home Affairs, and clearance of consignments from port dock. This is not, that is additional charges, interest charges can be waived, etc. There are a lot of relaxations on the filing of tax returns, video conferencing under the Companies Act. So in all the statutes, including labor laws, environmental laws across, and also state related announcements also keep coming. Right. So at some point of time, really we got little bit, what I should say, with the challenging times, and we are keep getting mailers and sleepless nights from the overseas and headquarters as well. So what's happening? Your customer is asking whether you could deliver. Overseas customer, they are simply literally threatening us whether you could ship your export consignment or we will cancel it. But in this difficult times, actually, from Comrisk, we got everything on a platter, because we have to search from each of the portal, from each of the app, because information is keep coming in the technology world from different locations and different places and different app, etc. But Comrisk put everything on a platter. If I could see today, in the past 5 months, 1,900 and odd is put over there, which is something amazing. Wherever I have planned, I can just switch off the button, I can get the information. And COVID-19, that package, what is presented in the Comrisk tool is very, 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 very handy. And it has saved a lot of our time and everybody has made use of it. And more importantly, though in Comrisk team also scattered around and work from home, they supported us a lot. They never said no to anything. None of the team members said no, not possible kind of a thing. Many of the time we got a very, very timely support and what is possible, what not possible, etc. So that really helped the entire team to focus on some other business priorities as well to make that smooth running than even the other locations of the other countries of our own company. That is one thing which was really appreciated, the way we were working. So again, it was thanks to the tool, thanks to the technology, thanks to the team as well.
Thank you. If I can come to you, Anirban, if there's one aspect of legal work which is completely turned on its head in the last 6 months is litigation. From being almost entirely restricted to the physical world, it's almost entirely now in the virtual world. I don't think most of us, in this group are, from a period when this was unthinkable, that people would be sitting in front of their computers and appearing before judges in the Supreme Court, was really beyond our wildest imagination, even when we started our legal careers. So in this period, CK Birla Group took a major decision to, invest in a litigation management tool, and that happens to be Comlit. I just wanted to know what went into the decision-making process, and also how has it benefited the group over the last 6 months when so much of the litigation management piece moved from the physical world to the virtual world?
Well, this decision or the journey towards this decision, Indranil, was not triggered by COVID. This decision was anyway there, but the speed of decision making certainly got enhanced with COVID being triggered. So the process of, and the challenges were, as I heard other panelists say, were challenges were real, and there was a concern and there was a need to bring to surface and bring on record electronically all of those litigations at one place under one tool, and have a visibility using different ways and intelligence that the tool may provide, so that we can get a clear visibility about where we stand vis-a-vis the potential claims, or maybe where we stand vis-a-vis the potential claims that we may have made to third parties, as much as third parties may have sought from us. But with this COVID coming in, the fact that this is not only a thing good to have, but something that we must have, and there is no two ways about it, is something which has gone down very clearly across the ecosystem. I think so that process of decision making has speeded up, and it has really benefited in a sense that when we looked at COVID kind of tool, that I was talking to my peers and my colleagues in CK Birla Group legal team, they were also mentioning that, this kind of customization, which is as much possible, probably would not have been possible had it been any other tool, and the kind of support that they got. And so, Indranil, in these kind of issues, there is always a risk of over-promise and under-delivery. And then that's something which I saw is not there in this case, in this particular tool. And that's really a big comfort, because these kind of risks are create a very bad taste. So we didn't have that, and that's the real reason why there is a heightened interest and a heightened need in view of the COVID, that we should have a digitized ecosystem so far as litigations are concerned. In fact, not litigations, contracting, and certainly compliances. Compliances has already covered a lot of the journey, in a sense that if you look at litigations, contracting, and transactions as three separate pillars, I would say litigations, compliances, and transactions. I think compliances piece has anyway been heavily digitized in the past, but certainly litigations are far more complex. So that's where we are.
Thank you, Anirban. Nitin, I remember a year ago, or a little more than a year ago, you reposed tremendous faith by becoming one of the first clients of our contract management solution. So while by that time we probably had a fairly decent track record in some of the other solutions, in contracts it was a new area, and you reposed faith in us. You stood by us and you helped us deploy contract in Becton Dickinson, and we're of course very, very thankful to you for that. But I just wanted to ask you a what if question. What if you had not chosen a contract management tool then? Around 6 to 8 months from then, COVID came. What do you think would have been different had you not chosen to go and deploy a contract tool? It happened to be ours, but even if it wasn't, what if you had not chosen, and what if you had continued with your existing journey? How would have COVID impacted your lives in that case?
So, Indranil, it's a very simple answer. Life would have been a tad difficult than what it is right now. It's not the simplest times to live. Challenges are unique every day. No 2 days are similar. Had the platform not been there, probably I wouldn't have had a repository where I could go click and retrieve my documents. That's number one. One big change that would have happened if I wasn't using a platform at this point of time was that I would have actually gone and demanded technology. I wouldn't have had my CTO to say, hey, listen, we are looking at an international solution. Give us another 6 months. I would have said that no. If this isn't an eye-opener, then probably nothing will be an eye-opener, that we need technology even for the law group. Because historically, if you see, technology and lawyers have not been the bestest of the friends, right? Because we've been a little slow as an industry also to really adapt to technology. There are a few pockets which are very advanced, and then there are a few pockets which are completely happy doing the old ways. Again, right or wrong, I'm not debating that at all. And that gets me to a very interesting logic, right? What you and Anirban were talking earlier. Look at the numbers. 100 days, more than 15,000 matters, more than 50,000 lawyers who represented before the Supreme Court. I mean, you could not have had a better opportunity to explain that, hey, listen, if there is anyone who's not seen technology, are the judges who are sitting there at the Supreme Court, because their age, their experience precedes probably all four of us sitting in this room as well. And if they were open for technology, we better start thinking about how technology will start improving our lives, right? And I again go back to the same question. And again, some of this was borrowed because I love technology, and I've myself been thinking that where do I go from here next, right? As a council, the pool of unmet needs is so huge. Where do I really see the next opportunity for a law group to be super successful? And the only question that I ask myself is the present the future as well? Because the present is where the need of technology is humongous. And that's where it will be for the next 10 years to come as well. You know, that black swan moment that no one really envisaged ever in life. Here we are as lawyers. We've been, I mean, you put a lawyer on an Excel sheet and see how quickly he'll fumble to see, hey, what the shortcuts are. And if you put him on words, he'll kind of immediately do 10 different things, right? Things will change, and optimistic and very hopeful that technology will seep in much greater ways. Solutions will have to be very different, tailor-made. One size fit all will not work, and therefore platforms have to be flexible enough to and intelligent enough to accommodate the need of an organization rather than probably giving them what the platform has to offer.
Thank you, Nitin. And that perfectly segues into the next part of what I wanted to ask. And I'll start again with Rekha. On this entire period, and we're obviously still living through it, opens up new thoughts, new avenues, new challenges. So as somebody who is, who's leading a large manufacturing setup from a legal perspective, what are the next few things that you want people like us to be focusing on? What is your need from an explosion or organizations such as ours? What do the legal tech world do now to satisfy your needs?
Indranil, to answer your question, what we did as a part of our risk management process is to evaluate what are the various legal risks that the company poses, especially during the COVID and post the COVID era. And one of the topmost risk that is coming out is, because the remote working situation is still continuing, is how effectively are we going to monitor the compliances across the company? What? The second is how effectively are we going to manage the contract management as well as litigation management? I know that you have all the three products available in Lexplosion, but as rightly Mr. Nitin put it, what we want is something which does not create a disruption in the operating manner of the company, but which can be customized with analytical tools, especially the AI part of it.
Right.
Which, if that is embedded into all these tools, that makes a life lot more easier for us. And as I said, we are always a team of a small resources team. So it will always help us if we have our hands on something else rather than tied down with those integrities of to think and do what we have been doing all these years.
We take that as feedback, and absolutely you're spot on. We've already started doing some work. I'll talk about it a little bit, but before that, I want to hear the others as well. So, Mr. Bhaskaran, what is your view on where should legal technology go from here? As one of the senior most people in the legal tech adoption space, where do you want us to go from here?
Yeah, as Rekha has rightly mentioned, it's an evolving thing which comes up now with new challenges, and of course it is blended with new opportunities as well. So under the new normal kind of working environment, so people started working from home, so plenty of challenges has already come. So let us be a little more proactive on what are all the challenges from the legal side which may emerge. In the sense, there are some faceless assessments are coming up, faceless hearings are coming up across all statutes, and everywhere it is a video conferencing kind of a thing which is coming up everywhere. Mm-hmm. So how to demonstrate the factual position in the digital mode under the faceless kind of a proceedings? That is one thing which comes to my mind. We can be a little more better in making it as a product or a module, or this is something very, very new to us. How in reality this is expected to happen? Because this is yet to emerge. We are talking much on this, but we cannot rule out that this is going to happen. Customs started talking about the faceless assessment. How exactly? Because today already in the interface, we are facing plenty of issues on the classifications, dutiability, exemptions, and so on and so forth. But under the faceless scenario, if the query is raised, how technically this needs to be demonstrated without any interface or under a faceless proceeding scenario? That is one thing which comes to my mind. In addition to that, if we make little more sector specific,
Right.
everything may not be applicable or relevant to every industry. For example, service industry, IT is kind of an industry, or some process industry. So if we can make it little more sector specifics on certain areas where we can put some position papers in the form of a database with more experts kind of a thing, that will bring out a lot of energy sharing, knowledge sharing kind of a thing. And probably new thoughts will come up, new ideas will come up, and this will certainly we can make some lot of differences. That's what comes to my mind.
That's a fantastic idea. A knowledge sharing platform between industry specific people would be a great idea. We will definitely explore that. Anirban, you've been exploring legal tech for quite some time. What's your thought? Where do you want us to go from here?
Yes, there's a journey that there's no going back, and it's only going forward. And there are many areas in which it can improve. And now where I see is the intelligence of most of these machines leave a lot to be desired. So when I say intelligence, there is one part is that these tools are basically repositories of the data and information which have been collected in the ecosystem of the organization. But what intelligence does these tools have to throw back to me that this is where the red flag looks like, and this is where the previous instances you have handled in this manner. So that's very true, mostly on the contracting side, because many times the contracts are written on customers' papers, and all these are, no two contracts are the same. But we know that we have a risk appetite that we don't go beyond this, the limitation of liability, for example, or we don't sign a contract with a governing law of a jurisdiction in which we are not comfortable. So do these tools help me evaluate that and raise a flag? And these are not always very difficult. Some of these are difficult because some of these are very legalese language, and tools may not be in a position to easily pick up, as we say, using an OCR or something. But when we get more technology specific discussions, we have realized that, and I'll put it short in summary, is that the AIs and the MLs probably will have to be more mature for us to use these as an output to make decisions, which I think is a long way to go, and so that will be really helpful.
Thank you, Anirban, and that's valuable feedback. Where all of us in the technology space are very keen on introducing AI, ML, NLP in as many different ways as possible. Early days, as you rightly pointed out, but we are starting to make some progress. Our technology team and us, we are looking at use cases, trying to see where all it fits in, and let's see how things shape up over the next few months and years. Actually, Nitin, before we end, you're probably the youngest and the most savvy amongst us in technology. So your views on what next from us and what you want from us would be, I'm sure, a lot of interest to all of us.
This is the reason I usually don't shave my beard, and I took that risk today, and I fell exactly for that, Indranil. But yes, what is it I expect, at least as a legal counsel? The expectation is that the platform has to make my life simpler. How does it make my life simpler? Does a repository creation makes my life simpler? Absolutely yes. Does an analysis makes my life simpler? Absolutely yes. But there are different aspects that probably a general counsel's daily lives includes now. For example, I'm looking at a conflict of an interest at the same time, right? I'm looking at an investigation. I'm looking at some distribution or a channel related issue. How does the technology help me do that? And because from a platform owner standpoint, you have the gold, you have the diamonds in terms of data with you, right? How do I really exploit that to be able to benefit from that whole data set of the gold that you guys have with you? That's one. And I think very, very important is that if you really ask me what gives me sleepless nights today is we are talking so much about digital. Look at last 45 minutes we spent talking about digital, and I'm sure across India, multiple conversations are happening on this side. But look at the fact that I still have 43 of information technology Act of the data privacy law is still not passed, right? So where does the data gets protected is my biggest concern. How do I even probably go and look at the significance or the importance or the firewall that a sort of a partner like you is giving me? Where do I really, how do I bank upon that? And that's the biggest challenge that I face when I were to explain this to my principals sitting in US, that, okay, I have a local partner here working with me, but do you have a data privacy law? Technically not, because it's not only, when I say data privacy, I'm not only talking about individual data or a personally identifiable information or whatever, because now we also have some rules out for public consumption and the knowledge about non-public or non-personal information, right? Where does that all culminate into and pertain or actually reflects the protection that I need for my data? That's one big piece which I think needs a big resolution. And as an organization involved in working in the data side, you should really look at not resolving, but advocating some strong thoughts there as well, because that is also the need of the hour that you guys should do. And yeah, as I said, I mean, I love this quote that I read somewhere that, present is the future. So we are feeling the need of technology now, and that's going to be the future. It's only that how easy for someone like you can make the adoption better for us is what the real task is. Otherwise, technology adoption is the given in CA, right? Or AC, like after COVID and before COVID terminology, which is common. So in the after COVID world, technology, you won't be able to live without that, even as lawyers.
Absolutely. So thank you, Nitin. And I'm going to steal that quote and use it over and over again. We will have to, take all the feedback that we received from all four of you. And there is a lot of work that we now need to do. This has been a very, very valuable session for us. We know what the roadmap is for us as an organization to satisfy large organizations like yours. I'm sure everybody in the audience who has listened to all of you would have gained extremely rich knowledge on what to do with legal technology, how to make choices, what kind of benefits can be drawn out of it. And I'm hopeful that we will have many more such conversations in the months and years to come. Thank you, Rekha. Thank you, Mr. Bhaskaran. Thank you, Anirban. Thank you, Nitin. Thank you all for a wonderful session. I really appreciate the time that you spared for this, and we hope that you will also have some time to answer any questions that the audience might have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, panelists, for deep delving into the topic. Ladies and gentlemen, after every session, you will get a feedback form on your screen. Your valuable feedback helps us in improving for next events. Share your thoughts and keep tweeting using the hashtag #ETLegalWorld.